My name's William Ernest Stitt, and I wanted to create the Bill-E's brand, BILL-ES, named after my two great uncles, my great uncle William and my great uncle Ernest. And, I wanted to have Billy's Bacon, Billy's Bourbon, Billy's Beer, Billy's Bloody Mary Mix, all these just crazy different things. And, now I'm kind of chasing my dream.
If you dream about growing and expanding your restaurant brand, but your day-to-day feels a little stuck putting out fires and delivering on hospitality, is diversifying your revenue with retail really the right move? Or if you've already dipped your toes into the retail pool and are ready to grow and scale it even further, how do you make that happen while you're simultaneously juggling the many hats you already wear? As it happens, we know a founder and a bacon connoisseur, a baconator, if you will, please don't sue me, Wendy's, who might be able to help.
You have this dream, goal, or vision in your head. I wrote it down, and I've written it down again and again and again. And the same goal never changes. The way I turn the sails on the boat alter at times, but the mission, the vision, the goal is to be a crazy, great little brand.
Welcome to Science of Service, the podcast where we deep dive into the art and science of running a successful restaurant. If you're looking for practical industry advice, inspiring stories, and tested insights, you're in the right place. And I'm your host, Rachel Stainton-Marcus, a restaurant industry storyteller with a passion for helping restaurants thrive by spreading the wealth and sharing those stories. Each episode, I'll take you along as we chat with extraordinary industry vets sharing their lessons learned and expert tips, giving you the kind of support restaurateurs need to navigate running successful businesses in today's world. For our first episode, we're taking a trip out to Fairhope, Alabama, home of Billy's burgeoning bacon empire, where he's balancing creativity with business practicality. Billy has created a winning playbook for running his restaurant and successful retail business at the same time. And of course, bringing home the bacon. He's got a drool-worthy menu, decades of corporate and independent restaurant experience, and the warmest of welcomes. He is from the South, after all. We'll dig into the retail side of his business in just a little bit. But first, let's take a moment to soak up Billy's Southern hospitality and get to know the story behind his brand, his journey, and the one-of-a-kind spot where it all happens. Thanks for joining us on Science of Service. Let's dive in. If you've ever been to Southern Alabama, you'll definitely be familiar with its laid-back warmth, tempting beaches, and yes, occasionally intense humidity. It's green and lush and comforting with just the kind of Southern charm you'd hope to experience. And as you head south on Route 181, there's another Alabama treasure waiting to be discovered. Roll down your windows and you might just catch the irresistible aroma of smoked pork belly drifting through the air. And if you have the notion to follow that scent, like I did, you'll arrive at Billy's.
Okay, you would pull into a gravel parking lot and you would still see big trees. All the trees haven't been leveled and massive concrete parking lots. And you would see tin roofs and old windows. You would see funky lamps and lights in those old windows, and you would wonder if I'm walking into someone's house or if I'm walking into a restaurant. You would hear music as soon as you slam the door in your car and get out in the parking lot. Hopefully you would hear laughter and joy and fun. As you walk in the door, you would start seeing things on the wall that don't really make sense in lower Alabama, like snow skis and whiskey barrel tops and roller skates and just silly stuff.
Hi there, how are you?
You would get greeted by a team member that could just say, "Hey, welcome to Billy's. Would you like to sit inside or outside? Make yourself at home." Very, very casual greeting. We're just a couple of miles from downtown Fairhope, and we're out on, it used to be Old County Road 27, now it's Highway 181. And other fun stories were, this was a daycare. This building was a daycare, and people would come and say, yeah, I went here as a kid, or I took my kids here. And I was like, oh, man, that's cool. So it's still kind of a daycare. And working in the corporate restaurant industry, I got to travel all over, and traveling with my dad, So I would see something neat or unique, and I was like, oh, I'm going to put that in my restaurant one day. And so it's a hodgepodge of places that I love and tributes to menu items that I thought were exciting and fun, and stories of people. Everything has a story here.
I got to experience the music while I was there, which was phenomenal. But can you tell me about the live events? What is the atmosphere like? How often do you have musicians playing?
Sure. So we really try hard to have live music 2 to 3 times a week. So it's an open stage all the time. And that happens, not as much as it should, but it does happen. And then we get a lot of really big acts that kind of come through here, and they'll want to come play. They want to be able to say they serenaded the bacon. So we get a lot of those. They might be doing a really big gig on a Saturday, but they see that they could squeeze in and see us on a Thursday as they're going east and west on Interstate 10. That's kind of my dream, is for, all these singers and songwriters and musicians to say, I want to play at Billy's. I want to sing to the bacon. And that's starting to happen.
Billy's not kidding. His bacon really is serenaded by musicians, and it's at the heart of his business. If you have ever had the pleasure of dining at Billy's, and I'm very pleased to report that I have, you can indulge in the bacon made right on the premises. Right behind the stage, you'll find a small smokehouse marked simply by a neon pig in the window, where Billy and his team are, well, making bacon.
It's very intimate in there. So you'll see tin ceilings, 10 metal walls, hard concrete floors or tile floors, smokers that have stories to tell, a cooler that probably was not bought brand new. You'll smell brown sugar. You'll smell smoke. You'll feel the salt. You don't smell salt, but you feel it. So when the cooler door opens, it just grabs you. But when the smokers open, you want to sit down. You want to sit down and you want to be like, all right, it's the first day of spring. What's going on? So I wanted to make a bacon that wasn't so covered in smoke that you forgot that it was pork, and wasn't embedded with seasoning or spice that, again, you forgot that it was pork. I wanted a center of the plate, premium protein that a home chef or a incredible event chef or restaurant chef would be able to take it and make it their recipe. We get the fresh bellies. We make sure that the bellies are no hormones, no growth antibiotics. We make sure the pigs are raised properly, meaning they're not all hemmed up in a 12 by 12 for 8 months. They can go outside and enjoy the weather and go inside to get out of the rain. So the selection of the pigs and making sure that they're raised properly has a whole lot to do with what we do. Then once we get the bellies, we immediately put them into our curing process with brown sugar, with real molasses, heavy kosher salt. And we let the bellies rest for 8 days, not 7, not 9, but 8 days is our magic number. We're not a plant where somebody's got a yellow hazmat suit on and spraying these bellies down with liquid smoke and doing things to speed the process up, for 24, 48 hours, which is, very common in our industry. I wanted it to take time. So after the cure, then they roll into the smoke room and we use hickory. I won't tell you the time or the temperature, but we smoke it till it hits my desired goal. And then after they come out of the smokers, we've got to get them chilled, and we've got to chill them, quickly. So it takes 10 days to make a batch. So somewhere during those 10 days, there's a good possibility that 3 or 4 individuals or bands or some type of musician could be serenading the bacon. So it's serenaded by songwriters, savored by carnivores.
I love that.
And if you're driving by and you pop in at 9:30 or 10 on a weekday, walk up to that window with the old screens on it, the neon pig in the window, and peer in there and see those bellies come out of the smoker and just watch what's going on, and then stick around because at 10:30 you can order a bacon cheeseburger. So the restaurant's kicking over here and the bacon's kicking over here, but that room is the heart and soul of Billy's.
The smokehouse really is the heart and soul of the business, but it's just one piece of Billy's grander vision, a vision that started forming long before he opened the doors of his restaurant in 2011. Actually, you could say it all began back in high school when his dad lined up a job for him with a family friend, a local butcher. Spending his time there after school wasn't just a way to keep him busy or make some extra cash. It was where he picked up the key skills that would eventually solidify him as a Baconator. Again, Wendy's, please don't sue me. But here's the twist. Even though Billy loved cooking and had a knack for the trade, he turned down the chance to study at the prestigious Culinary Institute of America in New York, a school with star alumni like Anne Burrell, Kat Cora, and the late Anthony Bourdain. Instead, he chose to follow in his dad's footsteps and pursued a business degree at Ole Miss.
While I was there and enrolling, they had started a hospitality program. So I jumped right into that and was one of the first students in that program. There was a freshman business speech class about branding. And the assignment was to create a brand and present it in a way that would make it attractive and fun and exciting. And that's when it came to me. My name's William Ernest Stitt, and I wanted to create the Bill-E's brand, BILL-ES, named after my two great uncles, my great uncle William and my great uncle Ernest. And, I wanted to have Billy's bacon, Billy's bourbon, Billy's beer, Billy's Bloody Mary mix, all these just crazy different things. And, now I'm kind of chasing my dream.
Billy held on to his brand vision, a dream that had been written, rewritten, and fine-tuned many times since his first semester at Ole Miss. And what eventually set his dream into motion was the quality of his product. It's one thing if your friends and family tell you that you've got a star product, they like you and you hope they're being sincere. But when guests are telling you how good your bacon is and start asking if they can buy it by the pound to take home for themselves, you can be pretty confident you've got a good thing going. That's why when another local restaurateur approached Billy about putting his bacon on their menus too, Billy knew he hit a home run.
When it really clicked was somewhere between that 8 and 6 years is when, the owners of a really cool restaurant concept around here called and said, hey, Billy, we really love your bacon. We want it on our menu. And I was like, that would be great. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get USDA certified. And that's when everybody was like, oh, you'll never get it. It's too hard. And I was like, watch me. So it was then when the demand was there and the customers that were buying it at the restaurant and eating it on a burger or on a salad or wrapped around a fried pie, just the interaction that people had when they tried my bacon was just so explosive. The comments were like, all bacon's pretty good, but this is unbelievable. It never stopped. And you'd have a down day and something would kind of bum you out. And then somebody would come in and buy some bacon and tell you, your bacon's the best bacon I've ever had. So I knew I had something. So I would say between 6 and 8 years ago, it was like, let's get this bacon to market.
Billy's guests leaving with packs of bacon to cook at home are living proof of the amazing product Billy has created with his team. And when it comes to branching out into retail, when your bread and butter is hospitality, having a standout product is the golden rule, the ultimate, undisputed, can't-miss page in the playbook.
But along with a great product, Billy's story shows us that purpose is also important when expanding into retail. It's not just about selling more bacon. It's about how selling more bacon supports his brand and drives the business's bigger financial goals.
The restaurant industry is really hard, and the bottom line gets thinner and thinner. And, being able to just fix things and to do what's needed to get there, I knew I had to have some other hook. Yeah. And I knew the bacon is it. So that sort of clicked. But then I had this really awesome hotel, the Marriott Grand Hotel right here in Fairhope, say, Billy, we would like to use your bacon. And we know you're trying to grow. We're not only willing to get your bacon, but we would like to get it through a large distributor. And then that's when I was like, oh, okay, all right, let's figure this out. So then I had to take it from, I knew I didn't want to have trucks and drivers and all of that. That just didn't fit me. That would be a whole nother level of stress I wasn't ready to do. And my footprint is small, so I use a backhaul system. So when I'm buying for the restaurant or buying for the bacon company, those trucks can leave with pallets of cases of my products. And I'll go ahead and say U.S. Foods was the very first large-scale distributor to say, Billy, we want your bacon. And I'll never forget that. And then Piggly Wiggly the very first grocery store to say, Billy, we believe in you. We want to put your bacon in our grocery store. And then back to that restaurant, it was the original Oyster House. Just the owners were just these really super sharp, nice, people-oriented folks. And they believed in me and they believed in my product. And so all three of those are the start to my story. And if I'm leaving somebody out, it's just because there's so many of them. But those three got me going.
With all this demand coming in from diners, distributors, and grocery stores, Billy needed to shake things up in a big way. More demand meant more equipment, bigger teams, newer regulatory hurdles like USDA certification, and, of course, stronger management. Along with refining his product and his purpose, Billy added a third P to his recipe for retail success, because who doesn't love a good alliteration? Processes.
The regulations are always coming and changing and things like that. So, we have a USDA person on site. So they keep us up to date. And then, of course, through industry trends, we're keeping up with that as well. But I had to get some better accounting stuff. I had to get recipe management system. I couldn't keep doing it on spreadsheets. I couldn't keep trying to do it through a point of sale system that really was never designed to do recipes as much as they try to sell them as they are. But I needed to find something that was going to enable me to have all of my restaurant recipes in the software, along with my bacon company recipe in the software, retail shirts, hats, swag. So I made sure I was pricing things right, and I made sure we could keep a good close eye on what we were bringing in and comparing prices. It just took all the spreadsheets away and it put it all in one big dashboard.
And of course, when you've got your processes dialed in, it naturally leads to another crucial consideration: pricing. Making sure every product is priced correctly, as Billy just mentioned, isn't just about covering costs or hitting a margin percentage. We all know that changing prices in the restaurant industry is not something taken lightly. Figuring out the right price is also about ensuring long-term sustainability for your business.
I started off, I priced my product, way too low. And even though my price was higher than, a typical pack of grocery store bacon, I didn't do it right. And then when the grocery stores started getting it, and of course they had to put their markup on it, and then there was this big disparity, big difference. And I was like, that's not right. That's not fair, especially if they're selling it in stores right around the corner and down the street. I can't undercut them. So I keep my price very close to theirs, and I think they appreciate that.
Yeah, I know obviously running a restaurant, having a good relationship with your vendors, your broadliners is very important, because you got to get your product in the door every week. I think that also applies to the retail here of you got to keep your retail partners happy as well and not do anything to undermine or downplay that relationship, right? Can you tell me about the importance of that relationship with your distributors?
It's huge. We now have 5 really good distributors, and they all focus on different things. And one of them focuses on all sides of it, but some of them focus on the restaurant side of sales of my sliced or unsliced bacon or my bits and end pieces. We have 5 products. We have sliced retail, unsliced retail. Then we have sliced wholesale, which is what a restaurant would use, and unsliced wholesale, which is what a restaurant would use. And then we have our bits and end pieces, which we call lardons. So what I found is certain distributors, really all they're trying to do is sell it to restaurants. And then other distributors, all they're trying to do is sell it to grocery stores. But the one that does a little of both, constant purchase orders. And their swing of, product 1, product 6 starts catching up to it. And I love that. And what I've learned is, just like I do it here, if somebody comes in and gets a great bacon cheeseburger, I'm hoping the server is going to say, if you like this bacon, take a pound home. Then you get that other sale. A lot of restaurants around the country that are using my bacon are starting to do that. They have a little retail swag area. They might put in a little chest freezer, and they'll order their bacon wholesale for their restaurant to use in the kitchen. But every now and then they'll order a case of sliced or a case of unsliced. And then they teach their servers that little giddy up of, hey, we're so glad you enjoyed the bacon on our pasta carbonara or whatever fancy dish they're serving it on. Why don't you take a pound home? We just happen to have some. And then that server's getting, an extra 12, 15, 20 bucks on that ticket, and they're getting tipped on it. It just becomes a wow for everybody.
Okay, for those following along at home, that's one more P to add to our list. One where Billy is absolutely a natural: partnerships. He's got extensive experience, having worked in pretty much every role in the industry, so he's no stranger to the notion that margins can run tight, not just for restaurants, but also for the businesses that supply them. Restaurants, along with retailers and wholesalers, all need to cover their costs and ensure their pricing and relationships are sustainable. And that is a big deal. Not only is it a bad move to undercut your partners by selling things at a cheaper price than they do, but Billy realized he'd also likely be taking a big bite out of his own expansion plans. Turns out that maintaining the wow for everybody is not such a bad idea, especially when it comes to keeping your vendors and partnerships happy. Oh, and do you remember earlier how he just casually mentioned solving for a potential logistics headache using his network and their empty truck space to carry the weight of distribution? Pretty smart, right? That little nugget of ingenuity also finds its way onto our list of Billy's partnership plays.
Well, I have some friends that own companies that have trucks, and those conversations are never fun. A member of my family is a very awesome professional truck driver, and our closest family friends have hundreds of tractor trailers. And it's a whole business inside a business, and that's not me. I'm not slamming that side of the business, but I want to let the pros do it. So I don't want to spend my time and effort buying trucks and hiring drivers and all of that. And I also realized, I learned a long time ago the phrase backhaul. And basically what it means is there's a lot of these trucks that once they unload everything, they're running up and down the roads with nothing in that trailer. So if I could find a way to get my product out there using a backhaul method, I kind of felt like I'm servicing everyone.
Yeah, that's just like using all parts of the pig, using all parts of the truck.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So would you say when you started doing retail and, you added the merch, the shirts, everything like that, is it completely different from how you manage the restaurant side? Is there a lot of overlap? Do they go well together, or does it feel like you're running two businesses?
We are running two businesses, but they completely complement each other. So people find out about the bacon through the restaurant. People find out about the restaurant through the bacon. And that happens every day. Every day someone pops in that's like, I've been buying your bacon for years, and now I'm finally getting to come and eat here. And I give them a bacon tour, and it's on. They're friends forever. or vice versa. They've been coming to the restaurant since we started it. And then they're like, I had no idea you sold bacon. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then we ship it to Aunt Esther in Seattle, Washington, or something like that. When I do get to talk to people that understand the meat side of the industry, and they also have some restaurant and hospitality experience, they get it. And I think they're envious, and I think they're like, man, this guy's doing both, and how's he doing that? And I'll be honest, I am looking for the right partner. I'm looking for someone that, I don't want a Kentucky Fried Chicken story, but I need to find someone that believes in what we're doing, loves the product, sees the opportunity for the restaurant for us to open little Billy's, little bacon and burger joints, 2 or 3 going east, 2 or 3 going west, solidify the Interstate 10 market down here on the coast, and then push north to not the big college towns necessarily, but the little college towns, dropping a little Billy's bacon and burger joint in there. And then, knowing you can get the bacon at the restaurant or at the local grocery store down the street. And so that's my focus. I need to find the right partner that's not in a hurry, that gets it, and then just blow this thing up in a great way.
Yeah, I can imagine that's difficult because, even with the quality of the bacon, the quality of the brand, and finding a partner that matches that and, like you said, believes in the brand and will just continue that without changing it or compromising it, like we talked about earlier. I can understand that that'd be really, really important. But I think ultimately that is also what will make it a success, because that authenticity, the quality is all part of the equation together.
It is. It is definitely that.
Billy's next challenge, the next step in actualizing his vision, is scaling the brand. And to achieve that, he says, he's leaning into partnerships and taking the time to make sure that he aligns with authentic and quality partners for his authentic and quality brand. So if you're looking to diversify your restaurant business, especially if you're considering retail, Billy's got some pointers.
Find an incredible point of sale system. Find an incredible accounting system and find a way to ensure they're connected properly. Don't look for the one that does it all. Make sure you're constantly seeing what the industry has to offer. When you get that call 3 times a day, like you do in the restaurant business of, hey, I would like to process your credit cards. Oh, by the way, hey, I'd like to sell you a point of sale system. Don't be too cold. Remember, you're in sales too. Schedule some time to listen to a couple of those pitches once a month, once a quarter, because you're going to learn something. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, how come my guy doesn't do that? But challenge the techies. Don't let them just sell you something and ride it, because you'll get left behind. Constantly challenge them and say, well, we talked about this in the beginning, and I told you this is what I wanted. Technology, it's the key. I mean, if you're going to try to run a restaurant or run any kind of business, everything we do, if you make something, if you sell something, it has a recipe. Everything. From my bacon cheeseburger to the hat that I sell, it's a recipe. If you work at a paint shop, it's a recipe for the colors. Find some kind of tool that's going to help you know your recipe so you know what your cost is at all time. With the tools I have now, I can go in and say, okay, I'm making a good decision. And sometimes buying something that costs more is a good thing.
Like with your bacon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't make all your decisions based on price, but make sure you price your sales items properly. Yeah, spend a lot of time finding a good techie partner. And then I would talk to more people that do what you're going to do. If you're going to open a restaurant, I'd go work for as many people as you can. And I would do every job they have. And I would just constantly just pick their brain. If you're going to go work for a meat production company or a retail company, or you're going to try to open one of those, go work for those companies and learn as much as you can, not to steal ideas, but just to see the grind and experience what they go through and make sure, hey, this is something I'm willing to handle on my own. So spend more time with peers, really dig into successful brands. Look at brands that have been around a long time, find out why. And look at new and up-and-coming brands and make sure they're not just a trend, not like a short-term trend. Well, that's why I picked bacon. I mean, bacon's going to be here, and so is Billy. And that's why I picked burgers in the restaurant business. I could have done any kind of restaurant in the world I wanted, but I wanted a burger joint. So I picked a burger joint. I picked bacon as the meat I want to make of choice, and I merged them together. And by the way, I'm still talking to my peers, picking up the phone and calling people that I know and trust.
Throughout this conversation, we've uncovered the key pillars driving Billy's success: product, purpose, processes, pricing, and partnerships. Try saying that 5 times fast. Each of these has played a crucial role in building his business from the ground up and expanding his vision. And if you want a handy-dandy breakdown of everything we've covered today, we've put together an easy-to-digest blog just for you. You'll find it linked in the show notes, so go check it out. But before we wrap up, let's add one more P to the mix: plans. What's next for Billy and his amazing brand?
I've been really focused on my family. These last few years, losing Dad and my mother is my new roommate, and my kids are adults now, maybe, sort of adults. I just, I want to spend more time with them. I like to see them excel. And then I want to build these companies to where I have something wonderful to leave them, where they've seen me struggle and they know how hard it was, but they also realized there was a reason. And my team is part of the family. I would love to see everyone on my team excel and grow, and our company be able to support them in a better way and to be able to offer things we've never been able to offer before. So I would love to be able to take, the Billy's brand to that stage. And I think it's coming. I really, really do.
Line of Billy's sauces, maybe.
Oh, gotta have that.
I still remember the comeback sauce on a burger that I had at your place. It was delicious.
It's so good, it makes you want to come back.
And speaking of dishes at your restaurant, final question. If you had to pick one dish that represents the heart of Billy's, what would it be and why?
Wow. Okay. Man, I want to tell you three, but I got to do one. The pork belly sandwich, or sandwich, S-A-M-M-I-C-H, as we spell it on the menu. The pork belly sandwich is a delicious bread roll with 2 to 3 ultra thick slices of confit Billy's pork belly.
Oof.
Tad bit of barbecue sauce, Alabama-made Wickles pickles, coleslaw on the top, and it is just an amazing, mouth-watering sandwich that, everyone that gets it, they don't say, "Can I buy this bacon here?" They say, "Can I buy the unsliced bacon here?"
Yeah.
Because it guides them more to, wait a minute, I don't need sliced bacon. I need to get that 1 pound stick so I can slice it as thick as Billy does. These 1/2-inch thick slices. Yeah, the pork belly sandwich.
That's amazing. That sounds delicious. I'm going to need to hop down to Fairhope and...
Come on, anytime.
Thanks for joining us today on Science of Service. I'm Rachel Stainton Marcus, and I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please rate, review, share, and maybe hit subscribe. Lastly, I want to give our heartfelt thanks to Billy for his incredible bacon and for taking the time to share his inspiring journey. You'll find some links in our show notes in case you want to learn more about his restaurant or to get your hands on a few packs of Billy's bacon. Seriously, it's the best bacon I've ever had, and no, I am not being paid to say that, I promise. And for more good food and great company, join me next time on Science of Service. We'll see you then.